Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata, and I am your host, Carla Renata. Yay! Why did I give myself like fake applause? That is so tired and funny, but hey, y'all know how I roll. I'm corny. What can I say? If this is your first time here, please give me a big thumbs up to let me know you were here. Click that bell for notifications and subscribe to my channel, please, and thank you. And what we do here is I do film reviews and I talk to about and sometimes do interviews with A-list talent above and below the line in the film industry. I always start the show off by acknowledging people in the chat room and by telling you how my week went. So right now, S, what's up? I know you excited, looking forward to it. And Brandon Heaton, it's good to see you as always. Love ya, mean it. All right, so let's get into what my week was like. It was a busy week, y'all. So I think last week I left off by saying how the Pan-African Film Festival was going on. This is the last day of the Pan-African Film Festival, or PATH, that we call it, happening here in Los Angeles. So if you haven't checked out any of the films, please go over to their site and check them out virtually. You will have a great time. They always have such great films that they show throughout the time that it played. I think it started March 8th, and or maybe it started at the end of February, and now it is ending and culminating today. So again, the Pan-African Film Festival 2021 ends today. Check it out over at the Pan-African Film Festival site if you have a chance. The American Motion Picture Arts and Sciences invited a lot of journalists to a virtual tour of a museum that they are building that I can only say rivals the museum, the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. It is a great museum. It is beautiful. It's about 4 or 5 floors. It will encompass all of the history of the Academy, the good, bad, and the ugly. They will be addressing racism, sexism, all those things, hashtag Me Too, hashtag Time's Up, all of the things that we have been discussing in the news in terms of what the Academy is doing. It is a full, all-encompassing exhibit. It will open in September virtually, I believe, but I will keep you apprised on that news as it comes along. I also attended the virtual premiere of Genius Aretha, which stars my guest for today, Cynthia Erivo. What a blast that was. And she did a concert at the Greek Auditorium here in Los Angeles, or the Greek Theater in Los Angeles. She had on this really spelt black outfit with this long red cape, and she sang a couple of Aretha tunes, and she had a little audience sitting on the sofa, you know, going in for her and clapping for her. It was beautifully shot. She sounded gorgeous, and I'll get to more about that a little later. Look at those pictures. Isn't that beautiful? I also left the week talking about how I was going to moderate a Q&A with the filmmakers from CRIP Camp, C-R-I-P Camp, which is currently streaming on Netflix. And I was lucky enough to be at Sundance for their world premiere in 2020, year before this year. January of 2020 is what I'm trying to say. I couldn't get my thoughts together, but I had a really invigorating, lovely, fun, insightful conversation with them. If you want to see that Q&A, please hop over to the American Cinematheque YouTube site or the American Cinematheque site to see that interview in its entirety. And if you have not seen Crip Camp, please make your way over to Netflix and stream that as soon as you can. I also, because this is Women's Month, Women's History Month, I attended Women's Day on Broadway because, you know, I'm always talking about how I'm a Broadway baby. So of course I attended Women's Day on Broadway, and I found out that this young woman, Aaliyah Harvey, is one of 2 Black women that have produced a show on Broadway ever in the history of Broadway. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. Aaliyah Harvey is one of 2 women that are Black that have ever produced a show on Broadway. The first one was Camille Cosby for the play Having Our Say. I'm just going to let that sink in. But I had a great time listening to these ladies. They were talking about being mothers and being on Broadway. They were talking about being producers and being on Broadway, being showrunners. Like it was a very insightful conversation in lanes that I don't navigate in usually. So I learned a lot. That was great. And then last but not least, Ebert.com usually reaches out to me every year for Women's History Month and graciously asked me to write an article to contribute to their Women Writers Week in 2021. And I wrote a piece about, because I'm always over here talking about women and how I empower women and support women. And I talked about how women directors are consistently being dissed and dismissed in the film industry. You can go to Ebert.com and read that article there, or you can find the link in my Instagram account in my link tree. Y'all, it's a situation, and we're looking at an award season that will possibly have a woman win Best Director for the first time in the 93-year history of the Academy Awards. Again, I'm just gonna let that sink in. But that's what my week was like. So, having said all of that, let's take a trip around the curve.
In Queens, the ABC series written by Zahir McGee, four strange and out-of-touch women in their 40s, three of them played by Brandy, Notori Naughton, and Eve, reunite for a chance to recapture their fame and regain their swagger. Lawrence Fishburne will play the schoolmaster and Michelle Yeoh, Professor Amanon, in The School for Good and Evil for Netflix. Speaking of Netflix, they just struck a $30 million deal for Dev Patel's buzzed-about directorial debut for his film Monkey Man, and your free ride may be coming to an end. Streamable reported this week that Netflix gently warns you with the greeting: if you don't live in the home with the owner of this account, you need an account of your own to keep watching. Oops. HBO is planning a documentary on comedian Paul Reubens, produced by Josh and Benny Safdie. Gina Rodriguez, Damon Wayans Jr., Tom Ellis are set to star in a romantic comedy for Netflix called Players. Ron Howard and Brian Grazer's Imagine Entertainment has set a multi-year first-look feature film deal with Apple Studios and will produce a slate of scripted features for Apple original films. Kiersey Clemens is set to star opposite Ezra Miller in The Flash and will reprise her role as Iris West, the romantic interest of Barry Allen. The Kings of Napa drama from Janine Sherman gets an own series order with Matthew A. Cherry set to direct. Huey Lewis gets an anthology from Heart of Dixie's Lila Gerstein and Aaron Kaplan's Capital Entertainment. The series is set at Fox with a script to series commitment. Congratulations, y'all. I'm so happy for you. Toni Collette will make her featured directorial debut with an adaptation of Lily King's New York Times bestseller, Writers and Lovers, for Topic Studios. She will also write the screenplay with Nick Payne from Wanderlust and The Crown. Kenneth Branagh will direct the Bee Gees biopic for Paramount Pictures, and Individual Knowledge told The Wrap this week. Ben Elton is set to write the script for the film that is currently still untitled. Toni Morrison's novel Song of Solomon is getting a TV treatment with the limited series adaptation in the works from Ma Rainey Black Bottom director George C. Wolfe. Black Excellence docuseries about HBCUs is coming from Stephen A. Smith. It will explore the HBCU's impact across American politics, business, culture, sports, and entertainment. Alma Harrell is taking the Time 100 and in making it into a film. It will feature a selection of women visionaries who played critical roles in our society's greatest achievements over the past century and will be directed by a different woman filmmaker. Robert De Niro's thriller Wash Me in the River has been acquired by The Avenue for 2022 release, starring De Niro, John Malkovich, and Jack Houston. That is it for this week Around the Curve, baby.
All right. That was a lot of news. There was lots of good stuff in there. I hope you caught it. And as usual, if you didn't catch everything in Around the Curve during the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata, I always put it up on my IG in the IGTV section, and you can catch it over there. Let me get into this one film, excuse me, that I want to talk about that will be available beginning March 19th. It is called TheCourier. It is produced by Lionsgate Films and Roadside Attractions. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch and Rachel Brosnahan. Y'all, I am always down for a really good spy thriller, and I am a huge fan of Rachel Brosnahan and a huge fan of Benedict Cumberbatch, but they are in a film together. What? This is a true story of a British businessman who unwittingly recruited he's recruited into one of the greatest international conflicts in history. He forms a partnership with this Soviet officer hoping to prevent a nuclear confrontation, and the two men work together to provide the crucial intelligence used to defuse the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is a true story. And when I tell you it's a nail biter, it is a nail biter. It is so good. The acting in it is absolutely fantabulous, and I enjoyed every single moment of it. It's directed by Dominic Cook. You guys are going to love it. But I did want to impart this one little bit of information that I found about it. I feel like spy movies and things like in a superhero kind of vein are part of Benedict Cumberbatch's zeitgeist, so to speak. And he had this to say about this film in accordance to now. In the past 4 years with Korea, Trump, China, and pulling up all the old nuclear treaties between Russia and America, these events were happening as they were developing and shooting this film. So I just wanted to impart that wisdom. The film is shot beautifully. It's a period piece. It's a true story. I really wholeheartedly enjoyed it, mostly because of the performances of the actors that I previously mentioned. So again, it is directed by Dominic Cook. It's produced by Lionsgate Films, Roadside Attractions, and it stars Benedict Cumberbatch and Rachel Brosnahan. Check it out if you can. So, I always do a curvy classic, and this week I figure, with the Oscars and stuff coming up, this week I figured I would, do a little Evita action, because Evita was one of those movies that at this time of the year, there was a lot of love and hate on the film, just like there's a lot of love and hate on the United States versus Billie Holiday. But the one thing was unanimous, kind of, sort of. Some people they either really loved Madonna's performance in this film or they really didn't. It was adapted from the Broadway musical of the same name, and it starred Madonna, Antonio Banderas, Jonathan Pryce, and it was a fictionalized version of the life of the controversial Argentinian First Lady Eva Perón. It's definitely a niche movie, but what musical isn't a niche movie? And plus, it's got Madonna in it. But let me tell you who was up for this role instead of Madonna. All right, let me crack my neck so I can go down the list. Are y'all ready? Here we go. Meryl Streep, Pia Zadora, Charo, Maria Conchita Alonso, Jennifer Lopez, Mariah Carey, Gloria Estefan, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Barbara Streisand, Patti LuPone, Darren Alte, Carla DeVito, Bette Midler, Cher, Anne Margaret, Diane Keaton, Cyndi Lauper, Marie Osmond, and Sarah Brightman were all considered to play the role of Eva Perón at various times of this film's development. Even Liza Minnelli, Elaine Page, Stephanie Lawrence, and Catherine Deneuve were all wanting to play the part of Eva Perón in Evita. It was a coveted role. It was originated on Broadway by Patti LuPone, and everybody wanted to do it. So here's some tidbits of information about that. Deneuve refused to audition. Barbara Streisand wanted too much money, they said. They said she wanted 1 million of the profits and a percentage of the profits of the film, plus $500,000 for the soundtrack album. I ain't mad at Babs. Get your coins, girl. Get your coinage, okay? Elton John, Patrick Swayze, Mandy Patinkin, who also originated the role of Che on Broadway, were all considered for the role of Che, but ultimately that role went to Antonio Banderas, who got the role by submitting a self-made audition tape and performed all the musical numbers in front of Alan Parker at a dinner meeting in Miami. That's what I call taking your fate into your own hands. Now, Madonna holds the record number for the most costume changes in a film, which I thought was completely hilarious. She has changed costumes in this film 85 times, which includes 39 hats, 45 pairs of shoes, and 56 pairs of earrings. That is a lot of changing clothes. I'm exhausted for her. I really am. She was cast in the role of Eva Perón after she wrote a long letter to the director, Alan Parker, convincing him that she was right to play the role. The letter was accompanied by a copy of her video for Take a Bow, where she had specifically asked the director that it should resemble the 40s and 50s. Also in the letter, she compared her life to Eva Perón's. Both of them lost a parent as a child. Both of them arrived young in a big city with no money or friends, but managed to succeed. I thought that was amazing trivia. And last but not least, and this might be a spoiler if you have not seen the film, so plug up your ears or do whatever you got to do. But in the film, when Perón tells Ava that he's dying, Madonna and Jonathan Pryce kept breaking down in tears because they couldn't keep in sync. And because they kept breaking down in tears, that caused them to not stay in sync with the pre-recorded tracks. So they ended up having to record all of the music in that scene live. And I remember that. I remember there was this big to-do about them filming it live. And it kind of set a precedence, because that's why we have those live concerts with Rent and Grease and all those other things on TV now, probably because they did that in Evita. So that's some trivia on Evita. It was directed by Alan Parker back in the day. Again, it starred Madonna, Antonio Banderas, and Jonathan Pryce. Jonathan Pryce was coming right off of his Broadway run in Miss Saigon, and not for nothing, but Antonio Banderas, this is a bit of trivia about him. Antonio Banderas, I discovered in a little film called The Mambo Kings with Armand Assante. And Armand Assante was a huge star at the time, ginormous. And Antonio Banderas got the part of his brother. But when he got that part, he could barely speak English. And I remember that was a thing. Well, he can speak English now. And he's been all kinds of things since then. He's been Zorro. He was in Nine. He even tried to reboot a production of A Chorus Line in his country so that Spanish-speaking people could have the opportunity to enjoy that legendary musical in their native language. So that is it for the Curvy Classic this week of Evita. All right, now let me get into Genius Aretha. Genius Aretha is an 8-part limited series that will be streaming on Nat Geo. It begins streaming on March 21st. It will stream for 4 nights, 2 episodes a night. And I think they will show the whole thing in its entirety on March 25th, which is Aretha Franklin's birthday. Because the film is still under embargo, I cannot review it right now, but I can give you some trivia about it because, that's just kind of how I roll. So this is what I want to tell you about Miss Aretha Franklin. Just a few nuggets before we get to this interview with Miss Cynthia Erivo. So when I lived in New York, a friend of mine was a backup dancer for Aretha Franklin, and he invited me to see her in concert at Radio City Music Hall. And what I thought was funny about that is that she walked out on stage with her coat and her purse. And I thought, ooh, ain't she the last of the Black women walking out on stage with her purse? But I found out there was a reason for that. She always did it. So at the 2015 Kennedy Center Honors, Aretha Franklin performed a rendition of You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, right? For honoree Carole King. She walked out on stage, baby. She had on this fabulous fur coat and she played for herself and was, doing her thing. She had on a floor-length mink coat, and she had this clutch, and she laid it on top of the piano and started singing. And she did that every single time, because back in the day, when a lot of artists would go and play a gig, the people that owned the juke joints or wherever it was they would play would try to stiff them for their money. So they were like, I'm going to need you to pay me before I get on stage, and then I will walk out there and do my thing. And to make sure that there were no shenanigans, a lot of them would either put the money in their wallet, put it in the drum kit, or put it in their purse. I know when I would perform overseas on USO tours, we would all put our purses in the drum kit because the drum kit was on stage with us and the drummer was sitting right in front of it. So we knew nothing was going to happen to it. But I wanted to share that bit of trivia with you. I also wanted to share that one of her biggest hits, Respect, I don't know how I didn't know this, but I always thought that Respect was her song. No, it was originally recorded in 1967. I'm sorry, hers was released in 1967, but it was originally recorded by Otis Redding. And Aretha's version became an anthem for the civil rights and feminist movements, right? And it kind of still is. And she told Vogue in 2016, the statement was something that was very important. It's important for people, not just for me or the civil rights movement or women, but it's important to people. As people, we deserve respect from one another. That's also what the song's line, Give Me My Propers, refers to when she told this to the New York Times. that phrase was street slang for mutual respect. This song, this anthem, was Aretha Franklin's first #1 hit, and it quickly became her signature song. But I would be remiss in talking about the Queen of Soul and not talk about her biggest hit or the origins and the history behind it. And not for nothing, you will not hear this song in Genius Aretha, because the title Respect is the name of the feature film that will star Jennifer Hudson, which comes out a little later. So when you watch it, not if you watch it, but when you watch it, you will see that that's the case. I thought this was cool too. In 1998, she performed at the Grammys, and I love opera, and I love this song called Nessa Dorma. And Nessa Dorma is a song that was oftentimes performed by Luciano Pavarotti, and he got really sick at the 1998 Grammys. It was shortly before he passed away. He was really, really sick, and he had to pull out. And with 20 minutes notice, honey, the Queen of Soul got up there and pulled it off with critical success. Sounded like she had rehearsed it and had been singing her whole life. I was like, yes, Riri, yes. Then, if all of that wasn't enough, y'all, she is the first female artist in 1987 to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was major. And she's performed for the inaugurations of 3 presidents, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. And if all of that were not enough, NASA named an asteroid after Aretha Franklin. I'm just going to let that ruminate for a second. Just let that settle for a minute. Just let it settle. And then, of course, if you have not seen the documentary Amazing Grace, it was filmed and directed by Sidney Pollack in 1972 at the New Temple Baptist Church here, New Temple Missionary Baptist Church, in LA, a section of LA called Watts. It was filmed live, and it was something. You should watch it. They recreate some of it in Genius Aretha, but it is something. So if you have not seen that, I highly suggest seeing it. So now that I've given you a little background about the Queen of Soul, let me give you a little background about my girl, Cynthia Erivo. Cynthia Erivo is a Broadway baby. I first heard about her when she was playing Celie in The Color Purple, the role for which she won the Tony Award. She is a Tony Award, Grammy Award, and Emmy Award recipient, and she almost nabbed the Oscar when she was nominated for playing the title role in the film Harriet, where she played Harriet Tubman. Cynthia Erivo is badass. She is slaying in Genius Aretha. I kid you not. But what I really want to tell you about Cynthia Erivo before I get to this interview is this. I watched the series. I sent her a DM and said, you're fabulous in this series. She hit me back, said, oh, am I going to see you this week? And I was like, for what? And apparently the junket was happening that week. I didn't know anything about it. And in less than 5 or 10 minutes, I get a message from her publicist with a time and a date to interview her. So I thank her on camera during this interview for that. But I just want to say again publicly that it is so important that when you have projects like this, that you, especially about Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, that you have Black women present to interview the talent about another Black woman who is historic, who was a civil rights icon, who is a legend in the music industry, is so incredibly important. And it's more important that the talent recognize that you have more power than you think when it comes to getting your own PR and publicizing your projects. So my heart and my wholehearted thanks goes out to Cynthia Erivo for hooking me up with this interview with her. So with no further ado, take a look and a listen to my interview with Cynthia Erivo, the star of Genius Aretha. What's up, my sister? You're looking good.
Who are you?
I wanted to wish you happy belated birthday. I know it was in January, but we haven't touched base in a minute. So happy belated birthday. So I just wanted to give you some props on that. And I wanted to find out from you, when was the first time you ever heard Aretha? Mm-hmm. And how did that make you feel when you heard her?
Okay, I was 9 years old. We were driving to school. I was in my mom's car. It was like an old blue Ford, and and the radio was playing. And in London, we have this radio station called Magic FM. It plays all kinds of music, and I really love it. I guess that probably gives me my like old school love for music, and I like all different types. And Aretha Franklin came on, and it was Think about what you're trying to do to me. Which I think that because just like recently, maybe a couple of, maybe 20 years, 10 years before, the Blues Brothers had come out. And that song was on the radio. And I was like, who's that? And I asked my mum, who's this? She said, Aretha Franklin. I said, okay, noted. Good. And then as we're going to school, there's another song plays, and it's Sisters Are Doing It For Themselves, her and Annie Lennox. And I was just like, I didn't understand how one voice could do these two types of songs and still manage to connect. Every time I heard I heard her voice, and my ears pricked up both times. And so I just was like, from then on, just sort of devouring whatever I could find, like asking mum to play some music, finding like CDs and finding songs on the radio and tape. You know, when at that time it's under the cassette, so when you want a song, you have to sit by the cassette, wait for the song.
Right.
That's what I was doing at home, trying to make my own little cassette of Aretha Franklin. And I just fell in love with the music. And because she kept moving with the time, I got to fall in love with her more and more. So that by the time we got to the 90s and she was doing A Rose with Lauryn Hill, I was like, well, I'm in. I mean, there's nothing.
You are just rattling off the hits. Get it, girl. Just pap, 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 pap. This. Her singing, the way she sings and the way she does her runs is so nuanced. Her phrasing is very specific.
Yeah.
How much time did you spend trying to get that together? Because your phrasing and your singing is completely different than hers.
Yes,
you know?
Very much so. I had an amazing vocal coach, Antea Burchett, who sat with me. We would take an hour or two on one song and just break it down bit by bit, because I really did want to hit. Because if you don't listen carefully, you'll miss a couple of the licks that she does. Sometimes she'll fall off a note quickly. Other times it's really, really delicate. Sometimes she feels a little bit lazy, so she doesn't really touch any of the notes. It's sort of like moving from one to another really quickly. And we just sat and we listened and we broke everything down, found out the intention of what the song was, found out why she was singing something. There'll be songs where she feels fancy, so she's doing all the runs in the world that she could possibly do. And there'll be songs where she just wants to sing something really simple, like the dichotomy between, there's a song called Border Song, and there's a song You're All I Need to Get By. Border Song is that Holy Moses, I have been removed. I've seen the specter. He has been here too. Distant cousin from down the line. Brand new people who ain't my kind. Like really simple. And then you get like a sweet morning dew. I took one look at you, and it was plain to see you are my destiny. With my arms open wide, I throw away my pride, I sacrifice for you, dedicate my life to you. So it's like you're going on this journey. It depends on the song, depends on how we're feeling. So we really had to take time with each song, because she never does the same thing twice.
No,
she has habits, but it always changes. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I love how every time I see you, you're singing to me. I kind of love you for that. I really love you for that. I know that you have a production company called Edith's Daughter. I know you got an album that's about to drop. I know you got a children's book that's about to drop. Tell me about all of it real fast.
Edith's Daughter. My mom's name is Edith. I'm her daughter. That's what it's based on. So Edith's Daughter. And it's a production company where I get to work with an amazing executive, Salome, and together we try to tell the stories of Black women that are often overlooked. The stories of the underdog, stories of the princess, stories of the spy, stories of the security guard at JFK. All of these stories are stories which are normal to us because we exist in them, but often aren't normal to see. So we're trying to bring those stories to light. This children's book I wrote a year ago, and we spent some time making it perfect, making it just right. And it's essentially about teaching people to dream the biggest dream that they can, and then dream about all the detail that they can put in it, because I think in the detail is where you realize your dream. And the album I wrote, there's a song on there that's like 7 years old. There's a song on there that's like a few months old because we wrote it over Zoom. There are 12 songs in total, and I love it very much. I'm very proud of it because it's stories, a collection of stories that are about my life, about the experiences I've had, about the people I've met, about the people I love, about the world at large. And I can't wait for people to hear it. It's coming out in the fall. Yeah.
In September. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I know you did an article for Variety where you said, "Who is my Black superhero?" You are my Black superhero because you always, always, always have my back. I love you for it. I appreciate you as a Black female film critic in a space where we are often ignored. I wholeheartedly and earnestly and humbly appreciate the fact that you always allow me to interview you. Thank you so very much.
Every time, like, you're always welcome, and I love you so much. And I love it, and then I have fun when I talk to you. And then I'm always going to be championing you. Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'll see you next time.
Carla, lots of love. Wow. You look gorgeous. You know I love a little pink situation, and I see that in the background. You've got the C up. I'm like, this. Look at my little display here. I'm really pleased with that. Thank you.
Yes, girl, I got you. Bye. I love her, and we had the best time. And Cynthia, thank you again for championing me. And I will always champion you too back, my sister. I really will. Before I get to South by Southwest and close everything out, I want to go into the chat room and say hello to everybody. Michael B, Brandon S, Brianna, thank you so much for tuning in today. Yes, Michael B, she full on killed it. She definitely killed it. And yes, S, they named an asteroid after Aretha. I thought that was hella exciting. And Brandon, yes, I know you were watching KCAS last night, and they played a small teaser for Paw Patrol, and it does look super cute. It looks really cute, and Space Dogs looks really cute too. So I wanted to give y'all some props and talk about that. So let me talk a little bit about South by Southwest. Last year I was supposed to go. They canceled it because of COVID. This year is being completely done virtually. You guys can go on and do it too. So it's not exclusive to journalists, but you can go on to the South by Southwest site and try to get some tickets. There's a few tickets left for a few things. The Demi Lovato documentary that I mentioned last week is already sold out. I can't even get a ticket to that. But there's a couple of films I want to tell you about. One is a film that stars this guy that I absolutely love. He's a stand-up comic named Dion Cole. Him and Kelly, Kali, Kali, have a film that's going to be playing called I'm Fine. Thanks for asking. And it's a film about this young mother who's a widow and has been faced with homelessness. It's a great, great, great story. I watched it earlier today, and I will tell you more about it next week. But I wanted to put that on your radar. I also wanted to put on your radar two other films that I'm excited about seeing. Dorothea's Blues is a film that is going to be at the festival that is written, directed, and produced by one of my favorite filmmakers, Channing Godfrey-Peoples, who is the person responsible for Miss Juneteenth. I'm so excited for her that she has another film so quickly coming up so that people don't let her fade into the sunset. So be on the lookout for that one. And one of my other favorite actresses, Olivia Munn, has a film called Violet. And Violet stars Olivia Munn as a film executive who's found a degree of success listening to negative voices in her head, the ones that tell her that her shirt is ugly, that no one wants her around, blah, blah, blah. Then one day she realizes that the voices have been lying to her entire life. Can you imagine if you have all these things in your head telling you these negative thoughts, and then all of a sudden you wake up and go, ooh, okay, let me rethink that. So it's directed by Justine Bateman, who is Jason Bateman's sister. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Demi Lovato doc, even though I don't have a link to it. I'm going to find some kind of way to watch it. I'm looking forward to the Tom Petty doc, and I'm looking forward to the doc about Selma Blair, which has also already been picked up for distribution. So that is it for this episode 156 of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. Again, if this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you are here. Click that bell for notifications and subscribe to my channel. Listen, y'all, if Arsenio Hall can subscribe to my channel, y'all can subscribe to my channel. I'm just saying. That's all I'm going to say about that. And next week, oh, wait, hold up. Wait a minute. Next week, I have my girl, Lauren Ash, who played Dina Fox on Superstore with me. She's going to pop over here and I'm just going to break up the monotony of the award season and have her over here talking about true crime films. She has a podcast called True Crimes and Cocktails, and we're going to talk about her podcast. And we selected a couple of films together that we're going to do a throwback and talk about as a team. So don't forget to tune in next week with my girl. I want to call her Dina. I don't know why I just want to call her Dina, but my girl, Lauren Ash, who will be here to talk with me about some true crime stuff. So thank you, Brandon. Thank you, S. Thank you, Michael B. Thank you, Brianna, and everybody else who is tuning in via YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook Live. I appreciate you. I adore you. Please stay safe. Wash your hands. Keep social distancing. If you're available to get that vaccine, that Johnson & Johnson or that other one, go and get it. But don't be fooled now. We still got to, keep it together until, we get it together, right? So thank you so, so very much. And until next week, when I got my girl Lauren here, love, peace, and hair grease. And I'll see you on the flip side. Deuces.